between normality and subnormality. Okay? Is that okay? 36% of the Indian population have a body mass index below 18.5. If you disaggregate this figure, you find that there are large sections of the Indian population, Dalits, scheduled tribes, minorities, in which more than 40% of the population, total population, have a body mass index below 18.5. That means they are living in a state of chronic endemic hunger. These people are able to survive, these communities are able to survive only because they have access to what are known as common property resources. What are common property resources? Resources that belong to everybody. But when you remove their access to common property resources, which is what Salwa Judum did, then these communities are living on the edge of destruction. They are brought to a state in which they are in the edge of destruction. This is not something new. It's new for India. It's not new for the world. The Western civilizations have been built on depriving indigenous populations of their common property resources and using them for their own purposes in order to create what is called development. That's why they are developed societies. We are undeveloped societies. They are developed societies because they robbed the indigenous people of their geographical areas, of their access to common property resources, and use those common property resources for their own development. But we have yet to do it. Now, unfortunately, these communities which are deprived of their access to common property resources, or which are brought to a state in which their survival is at stake, they cannot be expected to acquiesce in their own destruction. They cannot be expected to say, okay, you want us to lie down and die, so we lie down and die. No. So they resist. They resist the acquisition of their resources. And now what we come to the second part of my argument, which is that the Indian state has developed a whole lot of judicial instrumentalities to suppress the resistance that indigenous populations offer when their common property resources are taken away from them. Sedition is one of those laws. There are many other laws about which my friends will tell you.
When the British left, there were many communities in the northeast part who do not want to be what they call ruled by the brown sahibs. They call the Indians as brown sahibs when the white sahibs are gone. This claim was very uncomfortable to many of the leaders of those times. So Nehru went and tried to negotiate it out, but there was a problem. The Naga leaders didn't accept him. They were very angry with the arrogance with which Nehru came and tried to negotiate. And in the typical Naga style, they put their bums up and say, we don't care. And the situation went to such an extent that by 1955, the tussle has become a confrontation where they have started using guns. And the leftover guns of the Second World War that some of the Naga nationalist group have taken and started shooting down the police who have come and tried to establish the Indian rule in the Naga hills. So they fight back the policemen, and when the policemen started running away, there was no other alternative but to send in the Indian army in a big way. And when they send the Indian army, they cannot work. The constitution was already there, and there was no constitutional provision unless and until you declare a state of emergency to send in the army and kind of enter into a state. So what they did was they reenacted the same law that the British used in 1942 called the Armed Forces Special Powers Ordinance, with three differences. Difference number one was that they never declared a state of emergency, unlike the British did. They call it a disturbed area. The second difference is that it's not applied to the whole country, it is applied only to Assam and Manipur, where the Naga insurgency was coming up. And the third difference, which was quite interesting, is that in the British law, the British wartime colonial barbaric law, the power to shoot and kill someone was given to a commissioned officer. In the Indian Army, commissioned officer means a captain. Now, this power has been devolved 3 times, from the commissioned officer to the junior commissioned officer to the non-commissioned officer. So any Indian Army officer can actually shoot anyone on suspicion that he or she is going to disturb public order. We are in 2012. Armed Forces Special Powers Act is still there. An Armed Forces Special Powers Act is a law that any reasonable man looks at it and is untenable to any of the human right principles. We know that right to life is a fundamental right that everybody has. I don't know whether I will be ever born in this universe again, right? My life is so sacrosanct, so is everybody's life. So to take away my life is not an easy task or not a simple proposition. So if one's life has to be removed, then there has to be a certain procedure established by law. That is Article 21. Without the procedure established by law, you cannot take anybody's life. So we have actually documented 1,528 cases where ordinary people were killed on suspicion, saying that under this Armed Forces Special Powers Act and under the shadow of Armed Forces Special Powers Act by the army and the military in one state of the 7 states in the northeast called Manipur. In the Supreme Court, we have put up a case where we have documented this 1,528 cases and seeking that these are all citizens of this country and their lives are as important as my life and your life. Exactly 1 week after this inquiry was completed, there was again a massacre wherein 10 civilians were killed by the Assam Rifles, which is one of the central paramilitary force in that area. At that time, one of our volunteer, who was a volunteer of this People's Commission of Inquiry we conducted, came to the conclusion that we have tried everything, nothing else is going to work, and I'm not going to eat unless and until this Armed Forces Special Powers Act is removed. Her name is Irom Sharmila. She has completed 12 years of hunger strike. She was soon arrested and charged as attempting to commit suicide. Till now, neither the judge nor the government have taken cognizance of the fact that she is making a political struggle, that she is demanding the repeal of this Armed Forces Special Powers Act, which every reasonable man have said is unconstitutional and undemocratic. When we resist Armed Forces Special Powers Act, we are not subscribing to separatist demands. We are talking about deepening democracy and letting the voices of the people. And I think if we have to stop this kind of erosion of democratic space, if we have to ensure that the democracy of whatever is left of democracy in this country has to be preserved, this state of exception of Armed Forces Special Powers Act that we see in a few hills, in Naga Hills, has to be stopped, and there has to be a reversal of this erosion of democratic space.
आज़ादी के आंदोलन से अब तक जब भी किसी मूवमेंट को गति देने का काम जिसने किया है वो नौजवान लोगों ने ही किया है। अगर आज़ादी के समय में भी देखें, बहुत सारे बुजुर्ग लोग भी थे उसमें आंदोलन को नेतृत्व देने में, लेकिन बहुत सारे नौजवान थे जिन्होंने उसको गति देने का काम किया। जो युवा होते हैं वो सबसे ज़्यादा आत्म केंद्रित भी होते हैं और सबसे ज़्यादा सोचने वाले भी होते हैं। आत्मकेंद्रित इस संदर्भ में कि केवल वो उनको अपनी पढ़ाई से मतलब होता है और अपने कैरियर से मतलब होता है और प्यार मोहब्बत का भी मामला होता है इस उम्र में, उसके बारे में भी वो बहुत ज़्यादा सोचते हैं, शादी का मामला होता है। और अगर ऐसे देखें प्यार मोहब्बत की बात करें तो वो भी एक डेमोक्रेटिक राइट का हनन है कि जो ऑनर किलिंग्स इतनी हो रही हैं उसके बारे में आप सोच सकते हैं कि हमें तो प्यार करने और शादी करने का भी अधिकार बहुत जगह पे नहीं मिला हुआ है। बहुत सारे घरों में मिला होगा क्योंकि प्रिविलेज्ड हैं हम, लेकिन बहुत सारे घरों में वो राइट भी नहीं मिला हुआ है। मेरा भाई मुझसे कहता था जब मैं एकदम मतलब घर के रूल्स को पूरी तरह फॉलो करती थी, तो मेरे भाई ने एक बार मुझसे कहा कि तुम बाहर क्यों नहीं निकलती हो, ये सब बोल के। उसके बाद उसने कहा कि हर आदमी 2 बार जन्म लेता है, एक बार जब जन्म लेता है तो उस पर अपना बस नहीं होता है कि वो किस जाति में पैदा होगा, किस धर्म में पैदा होगा या कैसे परिवार में पैदा होगा, अमीर होगा या गरीब होगा। लेकिन वो आदमी वैसे ही मर जाए ये कोई ठीक बात नहीं है, उसको दोबारा जन्म लेना चाहिए जब वो समझदार हो जाता है। तब फिर वो अपने आप से तय कर सकता है कि वो क्या होगा, क्या बनेगा। वो जाति छोड़ सकता है, वो धर्म छोड़ सकता है। और बहुत सारे लोग ऐसे हैं जो दोबारा नहीं जन्म ले पाते क्योंकि वो ये नहीं सोच पाते हैं। तो इसलिए मैं ऐसी उम्मीद करती हूँ कि आज का जो कन्वेंशन है ये आप लोगों को दोबारा जन्म लेने के लिए सोचने के लिए मजबूर करेगा। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू।
See, in Human Rights Commission, we are supposed to look after and monitor the violations of human rights by government organizations. We have no jurisdiction over any private entity. Does it mean that all violations of human rights are done by government organizations? Government organizations certainly violate human rights, and that is why there are lot of commissions like Human Rights Commission, the Minorities Commission, the Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribes Commission, Children's Commission, Women's Commission, lot of commissions are there. We have not mentioned lot of human rights violations which are taking on a day-to-day basis, which I will call passive violations on a massive scale. Passive violations of human rights on a massive scale. Another violation which you and I commit, traffic. How do we drive? We drive as though there is no tomorrow. I don't know how many people have been killed in India in terrorism, in the Naxalite violence, all these, the separatist movements in some parts of the country, all put together. 1 lakh? 1.5 lakh? But every year, around 1.5 citizens of this country are losing their lives because of terrorists behind the wheel. Are my actions impinging on your rights? Am I blocking a road? Am I stepping on your toes? Am I playing my loudspeaker when you are having examinations? See, there are hundreds of human rights violations, passive violations taking place.
और न्यायपालिका को देखो, न्यायपालिका में पिछले 50 साल से मैं भी हूँ, इसमें कितना वक्त लगता है, कितने पैसे खर्च होते हैं। सही बात यह है कि कमज़ोर को और गरीब को, जिसको वास्तव में न्याय चाहिए, जिसको न्याय की आवश्यकता है, उसको तो न्याय मिलता नहीं है। अभी आपने अन्ना हज़ारे का आंदोलन भी देखा था, आप लोग गए भी होंगे, भाग भी लिया होगा उसमें, लेकिन कम से कम मेरी नज़रों में तो वो आगे नहीं बढ़ पाया, वो कुछ समय बाद फ्लॉप हो गया। क्या वजह है उसकी? उसकी वजह सिर्फ एक ही है कि उसमें नौजवानों की स्वतंत्र चेतना को आगे नहीं बढ़ाया गया, उनको मौका नहीं दिया कि वो अपनी बात रखें।
What does it make you feel? All the scams that are going on? Does it make you feel angry? Okay. Ordinarily angry or very, very angry? Yeah. How many of you have tried to express that anger? How many of you have tried to do anything about that anger? That is what I would like to ask from you. Because in a village called Cochabamba, a town called Cochabamba, in a country called Bolivia, and in Cochabamba, the government said all the water will be given to a private company. And a private company called Bechtel came to Cochabamba and said all this water belongs to me. And people in that city, which is a very, very poor city, said that water which we catch in rainwater harvesting in our small pot belongs to us. And the government sent the inspector and the army with the private company house to house, breaking every pot, every barrel of water, and saying, if you have to use water, you pay a tax to us. Will you all accept that? Are you sure? Will you get angry? Will you do something about your anger? Please keep that anger for 2 more minutes. I'll come back to you. The young people of Cochabamba rose up in anger and said, this is unjust. This is unfair. This is not what law of nature is. This is handing over our resources to private company to make profit. And they fought. And they said, we will not pay the tax. And you know what answer they got? Bullets. 4 people died. Because the government said, we will stand with the company who owns that water. This is far, far away in Cochabamba. It's not very far from India. Our friend here has come from Chhattisgarh. The government of Chhattisgarh sold away a river called Shivanath. Here, close by, not too far away. We are now not talking Bolivia. How many of you heard of Shivanath? How many of you have heard of Shivanath river? An entire river was sold away by the government to an Indian NRI American company who said that water in the river belongs to me. Everybody knows that when you have running water, water goes into the underground, groundwater, it fills up the wells. And you know what this company did? With the help of the police and the army, they went 10 kilometers on both sides of the Shivanath river. All the well water, they said, belongs to us. And you pay a tax to us. Free, independent, democratic, wonderful India. So human rights is not an issue of helping some far out, some poor man there. Human rights is not about some bekar tribal out there. Human rights is about yourself and us, and together saying, what is the type of society we want? What is the type of democracy that we want? You keep quiet, you're going to get acid rain. You keep quiet, you're going to get dictators. You keep quiet, you will not even be an ant. You will be crushed. If as an ant, you dare raise a voice. That is the challenge, friends. The challenge is not just fighting for somebody else. The fight is for a dream. It's for a dream of a democracy in which all of us, 1.2 plus billion people, have an equal right to make a decision about our own life. At the foundation of today's thing is a question to all of you here. Do you want to remain silent as you are seeing democracy being crushed? That is a choice before all of you. And if you answer that choice saying, Hari, I can't do this, it's too much, let me make my money and get away, well and good. But for those of you who have the courage, and that's why I'm coming back to the anger, if you are angry enough about what's happening today, because we need an army of angry people. We need an army of angry people who will not go about only in rage, but who will use their anger constructively and say, we will not allow. I'm going to show you a film. And just 2 minutes after it's a 2-minute film, and then I'll just leave you with one message at the end of it. Please see the film. It's meant to all of you here, both the elders and the youngsters. Please see that film and keep that question in your mind till the end of the day and for the next days to come. and ask yourself, based on that film, who am I?
सर आपके लिए उस पार कार का इंतजाम किया है सर आइए सर चल चल
तुम चलो तो हिंदुस्तान चले 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 लगा हाथ के सूरज सुबह निकाला करे हथेलियों में भरे धूप और उछाला करे ओ लगा हाथ के सूरज सुबह निकाला करे हथेलियों में भरे धूप और उछाला करे ऊपर पे पाँव रखो और चलो अकड़ के चलो ऊपर पे पाँव रखो और चलो पकड़ के चलो पलक पकड़ के उठो और हवा पकड़ के चलो पलक पकड़ के उठो और हवा पकड़ के चलो तुम चलो तो हिंदुस्तान चले